the possibility that that organization has continued in a disguised form would be one of the greatest disappearing acts within history.
Most secretive. Which secret society would you say, oh, that's probably the most secretive?
Adam Weishaupt's Bavarian Illuminati, which was the two things that I think are most notable about that is that he had a very highly developed plan for infiltrating other organizations and basically trying to rule the world, but through other means, and that the order was never supposed to be known publicly, only under its real name. It also never really goes out of business. I mean, it is banned. If you look at its history, it only lasts for about 10 years because it's formed in 1776, and by 1786, the Bavarian government has banned it in Bavaria. But nobody's ever arrested. Weishaupt lives until, I think, 1830. It goes on to recruit hundreds and some thousands of members throughout Europe and to spread throughout the world, even to America. Because in 1798, George Washington is asked in a letter what his views on the Illuminati are and whether or not he thinks they have infiltrated American Freemasonry. And Washington says he doesn't like them, he thinks they're bad, and he doesn't think they've infiltrated too much. Now,
it's interesting.
So, well, think about this. Supposedly, the Illuminati was banned as an organization in Bavaria in 1786. Now, more than a decade later, all the way across the Atlantic, Washington is being asked what he thinks about a group that supposedly has been dead for 12 years. But he knows it's not dead. In his discussion at that point, it is still very much a thing and which has some kind of activity within American lodges. My suspicion, and this is purely suspicion, this is speculation, is that the Bavarian Illuminati, a real thing, continued to exist in other forms. And there may have been many of them. The Carbonari that I mentioned might have been one of those. And they also probably continued to work within Freemasonry. Why would they have stopped if that was already successful? And therefore, I think that in terms of the secret society that has most kind of hidden itself could be Weishaupt's Illuminati. Now, don't ask me exactly where they are or what they're doing today, but the possibility that that organization has continued and continues in a disguised form to the present day would be one of the greatest disappearing acts within history. But what I can't see is that there's no sign, it's like this. There's no particular sign of life, but neither is there any indication of death.
What do you think is the most misunderstood secret society?
Well, I hate to harp on it, but I'd probably argue that Freemasonry is a misunderstood secret society because it's assumed to be this monolithic thing that it's not. You have a whole variety of different jurisdictions, and again, it's never been united in any. It was never just one thing. There was no sort of pure form that later then changed into the others. And for the most part, I hate to say it, fellows, but most Freemasons really don't do much of anything. It's probably more a social organization than, and people do use it for a certain degree of advancement, and you maybe get a better business deal from a lodge brother than you could from someone else. Yes, but that's the way it works anyway. That's what you do with your friends, isn't it?
Is there one that you would say is the opposite of that? One where Freemason seems to be kind of more style over substance? Is there another one that you would say is like, oh, they really have these intentions? That the public seems to think of them this way, but really they're that way.
Anybody listening from St. Louis has probably heard about a thing called the Veiled Prophet Organization or Veiled Prophet Society. And this was a private club, a society of rich guys. It was the rich people in town. I mean, look, one of their annual celebrations was a debutante ball in December. All right, so if you're part of a club that's going to have a debutante ball, okay, this is not a for the general public. And they created this whole kind of mythology out of it, and they partly based it on the New Orleans Mardi Gras. And each of these little crews in Mardi Gras is its own little secret society. And then they borrowed this obscure ninth century Middle Eastern political figure, the veiled prophet of Khorasan, that was a real guy, as their mascot. And they would have these huge public parades in which someone would be chosen as the veiled prophet, and they would have debutante balls. And it was generally recognized that the key judicial, political, and economic leaders of St. Louis were all part of this organization, even though its membership was technically secret. And that's the same people who were in that society were the people who ran the city. One of the things about it is that by holding these public pageants every year on full display, they're proclaiming their dominance. The police clear the streets for them, and everybody else just stands on the sidewalks and watches this society proclaim its power and glory. And the Veiled Prophet Society dominated St. Louis from the 1870s really up to the 1990s. I mean, their power began to wane, but for 100 years, this was the public face of a secret order of the elite that ran the city.
For me, that's why you have that skepticism of secret societies, because you have this small group of people making a decision, but you don't know exactly what their real priorities are or what the real goal is.
This is what I'd say about secret society. It's not the type of thing that you want to freak out about, because most of the time there's nothing there to freak out about. But on certain occasions, you should pay attention that they're there. And it's a good way to be aware that when you look at the kind of organized decision-making process through which the world is run. Now, let's put it this way. The world may not be run efficiently. It may not be run the way that you or I would want it to be, but it's being run. Okay? All of this stuff operates. There's a whole world order which is going on, and no matter how dysfunctional it may be, somebody's running it. So, see, it's not a question is will somebody rule them? There already is somebody running the world. They may be competing with each other, and they could be complete idiots. But this, by the way, is my actual fear, is not that the world is being run by, Dr. Evil, because Dr. Evil at least has some kind of plan. At least he has some, but it's being run by idiots. It's being run by people who don't know what they're doing, but are absolutely convinced, but somehow by the grace of God or whatever they believe in, that they should be doing this. That, to me, is kind of terrifying. It's like being on a train driven by someone who doesn't really know how to operate the train.